Hello, everybody. My name is Melissa J. McLean. I have a private practice and I've been in practice for several years now, both as a solo entrepreneur as well as a group practice owner. Throughout the years, I have learned many ways of building a successful private practice. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about how to start up your own private practice. Let's start off by defining what private practice is. When you are in private practice, you are working for yourself. You are no longer working for an agency, a company, another practice, but you're working solely for yourself. I should actually correct myself and say that sometimes you could work for another entity as an independent contractor, but you still have your business. But we'll get to that later. So, when you have your own private practice, you're working for yourself. You have a lot of flexibility in when you work, how you work, the population that you would like to see, what your fees or rates are going to be, whether you're going to accept insurance or not. You have a lot of control over those things when you are in private practice working for yourself. I would like to talk about some benefits for being in private practice. When you're in private practice, you control your client caseload. I've heard stories of people working at agencies where they've had upwards to over 50, 60, 70, 80 clients on their caseload. And whether they had to see them weekly or bi-weekly or whatever, I'm just like, oh my goodness, that's a large caseload. When you're in private practice, you can choose how many clients you want to see on your caseload. And you don't have to, the number that you choose is up to you. It's not up to somebody else that's telling you how many clients that you have to see. You have freedom to choose the niche of clients that you would like to see. You can choose the population of clients, whether it be the age group of clients. Some clinicians like to work with children. Some like to only work with adults. Some only like to work with senior citizens. You get to choose your niche. You get to choose the type of issue that your client is presenting with. You get to choose to work with clients who have experienced trauma, or you get to choose to work with children that have behavioral issues or have ADHD, or children that have autism, or people who are dealing with anxiety, depression, or people who are dealing with bipolar disorder or borderline personality disorder. The list goes on and on, but you get to choose what niche you would like to work with. Oftentimes, if you're working in an agency or a company, you'll be assigned clients and they really may not fall within the area of clients that you're passionate about working with. Yes, typically as therapists, we're able to work with a variety of people, but it doesn't mean that that's where our true passion lies or our true area of expertise lies as well. In private practice, you get the opportunity to choose that niche of client that you would like to work with. Additionally to choosing the niche that you would like to work with, you get to choose and you have the freedom of choice to choose what therapeutic technique you would like to use. For example, I personally utilize EMDR. I'm trained in EMDR, and that is the method that I use with my clients primarily. In private practice, you get to choose that. If you're working for an agency or a company, and they might have particular therapeutic models, evidence-based treatments or not, that they use, and they want you to really be consistent with the type of treatment that they provide, then you may not have that freedom of choice like you do when you're in private practice. Now, let's get into the steps of starting your private practice. The first thing you really want to do is to make sure that you are licensed in the state that you are choosing to open or to choosing to practice, choose to see clients. Now, in this day of age, there's telehealth as well. So you need to make sure that you're up on the rules and regulations for telehealth for that particular state that you are licensed in. So this means that if you are, for example, see, if you're in New Jersey, if you have a brick and mortar office in your states, right, in your home state, then your clients coming to the office, you can provide services. Your clients can come in from anywhere. They can come in from Pennsylvania, or I'm saying that because it's where I am, but they can come in from surrounding states. They can come in from out of the country, anywhere if they are in your brick and mortar office in your home state where you're licensed in, you can see that client. Similarly, if you have license in another state that's outside of your home state or outside of the state where your office location is, as long as you're licensed, again, look into your own rules and regulations, but typically, as long as you're licensed in the state that the client is in, so you're not in the state the client's in, but if you're licensed in the state that that client is in, typically telehealth, you'll be able to see them by telehealth. But that is something that you need to check to make sure that you're abiding by the laws and the regulations. And going into private practice, you also want to find a suitable space. You want to brainstorm, and typically I would say even before getting to these steps, to even just really brainstorm and really think about your vision and think about the vision that you have for your practice, because everything else is going to fall in line with what the overall vision is for your practice. And that's a video that I can get into at another time. Now, when you're looking for a suitable space, so if you have your vision already for the practice, looking for the space may fall in line with that vision, meaning, do you plan to have one location eventually spread out to 2 locations or more locations? Do you want to have your office in a city type area, more of a rural area? Do you want to have your office in more of like a professional office space or more of like a homey house type setting? You get to choose what works best for you and for your vision for your practice. And when you're choosing a space, it can be a little challenging at times because you're just starting, so you may not really know the ins and outs of exactly what to look for. But remember, you can always grow. So sometimes you don't really want to start so big to where you're going to get into a space and realize, oh my goodness, I don't have enough to cover the space. I don't have enough coming in that's going to cover my space. You want to make sure that you're really looking at your numbers to make sure that they make sense for where you project yourself to be. And part of having the vision for your practice is really being able to project what the need is for the area, for where you are, and to really partially base the place where you want to have your location at, if you're going to have a physical location, on that as well. Because again, you need to look at the numbers. You need to be practical and realistic about it. And you may also figure that you'll have more of a virtual practice. So you may not be looking for a physical space, but you'll be looking for, or I should say a brick and mortar space, but you'll be looking for a physical space in your home if you're choosing to do virtual from your home. So you want to really scope out different areas of your home so that you can choose a space in your home that will be suitable to be able to have your online sessions. You want to make sure that it still looks nice, still looks professional as it would if somebody were coming into your office. And you just want to take that moment to do that if you are choosing to do it virtually. In starting your private practice, you also want to invest in some basic equipment and software. Now, if you have a physical office space, you're going to want to invest in some furniture pieces. So think about who it is that you're serving. If you're primarily seeing individuals, you may just have a couple of pieces of furniture. If you're choosing to do groups, then you would want to have more furniture for people to be able to sit on, as well as when you're looking at your space is going to be bigger, of course. And if you're working with kids, you have to really think about making it kid friendly. So things like that all go into play. And when you think about your equipment and your software, especially if you're doing it virtually, I would say that a lot of people, therapists, may do a hybrid where they may do some virtual therapy sessions and then also do in-person sessions in the physical office space. So you want to invest in an electronic medical record system. That is possibly the easiest way to go about it because it keeps everything just really intact. It's everything in one place. It's HIPAA compliant. And that way you will be able to have everything at fingertips reach, whether you are in your physical office space or if you're in your home office. And I'll leave a link below for the one that I use, not typically, but that I use, because it can be really helpful just to keep everything together and in order no matter where you are. It doesn't matter because in these electronic medical record systems, a lot of times you're able to indicate where you saw the client. So you're able to have the multiple locations built in to your electronic medical record system, which can be very helpful. You want to think about the computer that you're going to use, especially if you're doing virtually. Even if you're in office, think about the computer that you would like to use for your practice because you're going to need it to keep client information, for business information, because now that you're going to be a business owner, so you're going to have a lot of business documents and things that you need to keep organized to make sure that your business runs smoothly. Part of the equipment too is a phone system. So nowadays there are a lot of phone systems that you can use where you're able to connect your cell phone to it. And I use one that has been extremely helpful over the years because callers will just call in to a main number and then they can choose which extension they need for the services that they need, whether it's for intake or billing or a particular person. They can just dial out that extension. I'll leave that in the information below as well if you want to check that out. But yes, it's very important to have that because you don't want to use your personal phone. So something that I used when I started out was Google Voice, and that was so helpful for me as an individual private practice owner because I had a number that was separate from my personal phone because I didn't want to have clients calling my personal number. That was something that I had when I did in-home therapy, but having my private practice, I wanted a separate business number. Now, I started off with Google Voice number, and then I transitioned to another, and I'll drop it in the below, but I transitioned, and when I transitioned, because it had more options as I was growing my group practice, I was able to transfer my phone number. So there was never a severance in my business phone number, which was great because then if older clients wanted to reach out, they still had my number. It never changed. It's been that number for over 10 years now. And so that can be very helpful to have that phone system. The other important piece is your email. Your email. So you want to make sure that you get a business email, not using a personal email. You need an email for your business specifically so that it can be something that is separate. Now, I started off used Gmail. I got a new Gmail email extension when I was a solo therapist, and that worked fine. I just had people email me through that. Again, it wasn't connected to my personal email. Once I started growing, again, I hope that you're getting this. So you're not going to just jump in and get all the bells and whistles and get everything. Like this is a gradual process, right? As you're growing, as you're building. And so eventually I started using G Suite, which was really able to help with the business. I was able to connect my website domain so that it just looked even more professional as far as the email. And as I added more clinicians, then they would get their own email address as part of the practice, as part of the therapy practice. And I'll do separate specific videos on different things like that. You can just let me know in the comments if you think that might be helpful to do those types of videos. I will. So the email is very important to have as well. And that email really says who you are. It really sets the tone for your branding. I want to jump into branding, just kind of branding and marketing, as I was mentioning with your email, how it can be connected to a website. So in mentioning website, it is so helpful. It's not extremely important because nowadays you can essentially use different marketing platforms. Some people use different marketing platforms to get clients. You can use that to funnel clients through, but having a website can be so helpful, especially if depending on how tech savvy you are. Now, I know when I started, and even now, I use WordPress and I'm able to update the WordPress site myself. Well, actually, I should say, let me back up. When I first started, I did not use WordPress. When I first started, I believe that was a Vistaprint website, actually. So it was something very basic, very simple. Just to really start off, I just really wanted something that my clients would be able to see who I am. So they'd be able to see who my business was. They would be able to read about me, my qualifications, so they can make an informed decision if they want to come in to see you. So typically on your website, you really want to show what your practice is about. Show what the mission of your practice is. And so that clients that will be that are connected to you, they'll want to reach out to you because maybe your mission aligns with their needs. Really show the type of clients that you work with, the niche area that you work with, so people are extremely clear whether or not your services can help them. Because if you start on that level, it will really help a lot when people are reaching out, because then they will already feel more connected to you and ready to utilize your services. When you have your website, you want to, even before that, kind of like when you're thinking about your vision, you want to think about your branding, like think about the color scheme that you want, for your business. Think about the color scheme, the lettering, just really the type of language that you want to use, so that you can start having it be consistent across platforms, whether it's on your website, whether it's on your social media pages, or anywhere else, like in your email signature, just so that your branding can be consistent with what your business is portraying and what the mission is and the vision is for your practice. As I touched on a little bit as far as branding goes too, so when you're marketing, you want to utilize social media platforms. So create a profile, I should say, for your private practice. So either if you create a profile for your private practice, or if you have just kind of a profile for yourself that's more specifically related to what you do, and as it relates to mental health, it can be very helpful because it can help you to connect to potential clients. It can also help you to be able to network and connect with colleagues in the field as well, which may refer clients to you, or you can refer clients to them, vice versa, or just to be able to really have that connection and that support in the field. There are so many different social media platforms that you can use I'm on here now. You can use YouTube, you can use Instagram, Facebook, there's TikTok, there's Twitter. There's just so many different platforms that you can use. It's a matter of what you feel comfortable with and where you want to have your business presence. Another way to market and brand is to go to events. So go to different networking events and marketing events, which can be so helpful. So for example, like I mentioned before, I'm trained in EMDR, I do MDR, and I also I head up the Southern regional area for getting EMDR therapists together to do events. And so we're actually having an event that's coming up at the end of the month. And I'll drop that in the description as well if you happen to be in the South Jersey area. And so just get together with colleagues, just really network, because let me tell you, I mean, just like yourself, if you're right now a therapist that's working even for an agency, there's going to be times where you need to refer your client to somebody else because for whatever reason, maybe they're finished their work with you, with as far as they need to go with you, and now they need to move on to someone else or a different type of work. Then you may need to refer, or you may just be so full that you're not able to take on any more clients. And we'll talk about that too later, because if you get so full, you might be starting to think about having a group practice. So just really think about how you can connect with other people, because that's a way of marketing too. Just being yourself and just sharing what you do and how you can serve people so that other people will know that you can be an option if they have clients that really need to see a therapist that works with people that experience trauma, for example. They'll know who to go to and they will pick up that phone and call you or email you. Something else that's really helpful when you're starting your private practice is really focusing on your client relationships. Yes, we go to school to we learn all about the therapeutic relationship, but it's just really important to really keep that in mind with your clients. Even before they become clients, you want to be clear about what it is that you offer. You want to be clear about your fees before the client has their first session. You want to be clear about whether it's private pay, whether it's through insurance, so just so that the client knows what to expect. And now there's a good faith estimate that we need to be sharing with our clients so that they are fully aware of the fees for their services. Something else that can be really helpful with client relations is getting feedback from your clients. Get feedback about what's helpful for them, with their work with you. What are things that they see could be a little bit better possibly? Because believe it or not, you will get referrals from your clients as well. Because if they have a good experience with you, they will tell their friends and their family members or just people in general who they know that, hey, I have a therapist that has really helped me and supported me. And I have noticed so many changes. And yes, I think that would be great because I see that you're going through something. So just really always be thinking about your client relations as well. And as part of client relations, you want to make sure that you establish like clear boundaries, what to expect, and kind of going into even like if you don't go to court for your clients, like making that explicitly clear as well. So this is all a part of like the legality of things. And this goes into having a good informed consent. Because if you have a good informed consent, then you will be good. And having a good informed consent, I would encourage you to get some legal advice on it or have a lawyer or attorney to look over it. So you may say, oh my gosh, attorneys are so expensive. Even use Legal Shield or something like that to where it's just a monthly fee and you're able to send them documents to review. So that way, from the start that you're good and you're covered legally. Because let me tell you, if you get into a legal bind, that can really hurt you. It can hurt your business if it's not done in a legal way. And that's not meant to scare you. It's just meant to really help you and to encourage you to make sure that your documents that you have are good legally and that you have everything in there about the confidentiality with your clients, and again just really knowing the services that they're going to get and what they need to expect to pay, and ensuring that what you do operates within the realm of HIPAA, that's HIPAA compliant. So the phone system that you use, your emailing, as well as the way that you're keeping documentation, just making sure all those things are HIPAA compliant. On top of that, making sure that you have your license is up to date, that you have insurance. So professional liability insurance is extremely important. And it helps, if situations arise to where you need to have insurance coverage, please don't get caught without having that. That is just so important. And lastly, as it relates to just legal and ethical considerations, make sure that you're operating within the guidelines of your jurisdiction. So again, whatever state it happens to be that you are operating in, make sure you know their guidelines so that you don't inadvertently get in trouble for doing something that you had no idea you were not allowed to do. So just make sure you know the ins and outs of that, because again, when you are in private practice, you're in business for yourself. So you're no longer just really relying on other people. And I would say that even if you are working for somebody and you have your own license, I would still say to know this stuff for yourself too. The last thing I want to talk to you about is just continuous learning and growing. Like learning and personal development is just so important. And so part of it too is recognizing yourself and recognizing when it's getting to be too much, recognizing that we need to take some time for self-care so that we don't burn ourselves out, right? So that is just like first and foremost important. Just take time for self-care so that you can reduce the possibility or potential for burnout. Also, stay on top of just continuously learning in your field. So, if you have a passion for a particular therapeutic technique, go ahead and learn that technique and really hone it. Get continuing education on certain topics. I mean, yes, we do have to get it for specific areas. Really find the things that you're passionate about and things that you can actually utilize with your clients will be so helpful and motivating and just to help to keep you advancing within this field because we don't want to get stagnant in what we're doing. We want to always be learning. And even as we're doing that, we have the ability to meet other people, like meeting other colleagues, even think about joining professional associations. And that way, that will also help you to continue to learn and continue to be around fellow colleagues. Because something that people say sometimes is that being in private practice can get lonely. Only if you make it. It doesn't have to be lonely. Connect with other people. Starting a private practice can be a very rewarding journey, and also it has its challenges. I'm not going to lie and say that it can be all roses, but it's about the grit that you have to be able to overcome any challenge that may come your way so that you can continue serving the people you're supposed to be serving, so that you can continue living out the purpose of your life and walking down the path that you're purposed to go down. This is what it's all about. It's about being able to help other people. Oftentimes, that's part of why we got into being therapists, to be able to help other people. Remember that it's essential to be passionate, patient, and persistent because, like I said, this road is going to have much success. It also comes with some challenges, but guess what? You can do it. Especially if part of your why is to touch other people's lives, you can do it. Think about the why that you have and allow that to motivate you to start your private practice and to get past any type of imposter syndrome that you may have about starting this practice or doubts that you may have. Because if you want to do this, if you feel in your heart this is something that you are purposed to do, then guess what? You will be able to do it. You absolutely will. Feel free again to look at some of the links in the comments if you feel that may be helpful for you. And if you want more information or need some more direction, or if you need help with all of this, feel free to reach out to me for a free consult, so we can talk about how you can get started in your private practice and if you need any support throughout that process. Again, my name is Melissa J. McLean, and I thank you so much for taking time out to watch this video, and I encourage you to continue on this journey if this is your purpose. Bye.